I'm Don Benyon with Adobe, and I'm here with Kelly Andreessen, SVP and head of the Get Creative digital agency within USA Today Network. Welcome, Kelly, and thanks for joining
having
us.
me.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your role as head of this Get Creative digital agency.
Certainly. So I head up Get Creative, and that's our in-house creative agency that is nationwide. So we work with local and national advertisers to help them tell their stories across the USA Today network. So that could be in the form of content. So we're a full production studio. We help create articles, videos, and even virtual reality for clients. We also create ads for them, so that runs in our print and digital. And then we also create bespoke custom experiences for them that might include live events or editorial sponsorships or brand new advertising experiences that are built just for them.
You're known for being kind of lean in on adopting new technologies. Business Insider named you as one of the leading women in advertising a few years ago in mobile. Tell us a little bit about what's drawn you to kind of those new experiences and being an early adopter of engaging customers through new channels.
I've always been really interested in how do we help brands get closer to the audience and engage them in a really authentic way. And I know that's a big buzzword in the industry, but it actually does mean something to me. And I think new mediums are new opportunities to explore that and how you bring it together. It's exciting to be able to define what is advertising, whether it be a standard, or define what could be that experience in those new mediums like mobile, and now I'm really very focused on VR.
Okay. In 2016, your team launched the first VR commercial. It was called a Cube-mercial.
That's right.
Explain to us what a VR Cube-mercial or commercial is. And since you guys were the first, tell us what you learned.
Yeah, there are no advertising standards in VR. There's no such thing as a VR ad or a VR sponsorship. And so the team and I really came to the table thinking, okay, what could we actually develop in this medium? What could we test and see what works? And so we very deliberately built the Cube-mercial, which is literally a cube. So you're inside an experience. There are 4 walls. There's also a ceiling and a floor, in which we also very clearly wanted to define it as an advertising experience, so separate from an editorial piece, separate from everything. We kind of replicated what a commercial break might have been in the early days of linear TV, where there's a break in the content, you experience an advertising message, and then you go back to content. This was the same idea when we launched a weekly VR show called Virtually There. The Cube-mercial took existing assets from advertisers, so it was also easy to produce. I could take a 2D commercial and showcase it on our 4 walls, so a person could totally be immersed in the brand message. And it was very short. It was only about 11 seconds long before you then went onto a piece of content. And what we found is great engagement. It turns out VR is an amazing advertising platform. And I think that's probably twofold. 1, because it's very new. 2, it's totally immersive. So we partnered with Nielsen actually to measure how people perceive the brand inside the commercial and how they perceived it as part of a larger content. And by far, lifted all brand metrics across everything that we tested, like intent to buy, intent to recommend, and just overall, would you rate the brand as innovative? It's always yes, just for being in the medium. So I think there's a lot of great early learnings for us to see in just a 11-second experience. Yeah. What could we do if we extended that out to a longer experience?
And you were saying that you were using existing assets, so you could take a 2D and put it into VR. How do you imagine VR evolving beyond just taking 2D and putting it in VR into being more of an immersive VR-centric?
We were very deliberate in that. Like, knowing that the Cube-mercial and VR advertising is brand new, we knew we also had to make it easy to understand and easy to buy. And so that's why we very deliberately said, okay, what could we take that advertisers and agencies know and turn that into something new? We also then moved into VR branded content, which we continue to do, and is very beneficial for brands too, because it allows you to create something totally from scratch and tell a whole experience in that piece of VR. So you don't have to do a little break. The whole experience, the whole story is made on behalf of a brand to help tell a story to their reader, which has been really great for us and really great for advertisers.
Brands engaging with their customers and delivering immersive experiences to them in VR, either advertising experiences or other types of experiences. Is this kind of a flash in the pan? Is it something just for early adopters to kind of showcase that they're being innovative? Or do you think that this is the future of how brands will really want to engage and how customers will want to engage with brands?
We really see VR as the future of storytelling. And if you believe that, it's a natural extension to bring that same insight and approach to advertisers to help them build a story and bring an entire experience to their audience in a way that is just not possible in other mediums. I think VR absolutely should be a part of a marketing mix for all marketers. Certainly we're still seeing early adopters right now, and there are great things to learn. Like I said, it's a great medium, and people are actively seeking it. I always like to share that some of the branded content in VR that we produce that then distributed across the USA Today network was not only the top viewed video of any kind, 2D, 360, really? VR, yeah. And it doesn't surprise me because great content and a great experience, people will actively seek that out and then want to share it with everyone they know. So there's certainly a high responsibility for brands and publishers to create high quality experiences that we want to support, and we want to bring that knowledge to advertisers to help them learn in these very early days.
So if there was a brand coming to you for advice, a brand or a publisher that said, hey, we'd like to start to leverage VR or be an early adopter here, what advice would you give them on what they should do or what pitfalls they should avoid or what they should focus on?
Our first question is always, why do you want to do VR? So
it has to be beyond just to be innovative. There
correct.
Has to be an authentic reason or an experience that they want to deliver.
Correct. Okay. And do you already have a storyline in mind? Because we'll ask that question because VR may not actually be the best medium to tell that story. Like if we can tell that same story in 2D video, do it. Because it's going to be a lot cheaper and you're probably going to get better engagement. Particularly if it's like something like this where you're interviewing a person, did they really need to experience it all the way around? Probably not.
Well, no, this
but
360.
This 360 is really amazing.
Not bad.
And we find the best stories that are told in the medium are really about transportation, so transporting you into a world or experience that you may never be able to experience on your own otherwise outside of VR. Or secondly, really connecting to a human emotion, particularly with empathy, really truly like putting yourself in someone else's shoes. And those two storylines do very, very well in VR, and we can help brands tell that story, which has been great.
Awesome. Last question. Tell me about how USA Today is making customer experience part of your business.
It's a great question. I would say focusing on the customer experience is the core of everything that we are doing right now. The only thing that's really differentiating brands is the experience that you bring to your customers, particularly like in things like mobile, where it's so easy to find alternatives. That if we can create a better user experience, that builds more loyalty for the brand. And so that's everything from a technical level, like speed, how fast is our site loading, how fast are ads loading, looking at the relationship between advertising and the editorial content, how well do they match to build a great experience for the advertiser and for the reader alike, and then even into new mediums like VR, where the whole thing is immersive, the whole thing is an experience. How can we define what that is? And we do take that very, very seriously in understanding that it is our responsibility for creating top-notch experiences across all mediums for our customer.
So making sure that no matter how a customer is engaging with you, making sure it's a top-notch experience, tying it all together for them, speaking in one voice to a customer.
Absolutely, and it's not easy, and I know a lot of brands out there are struggling with this, but it's certainly our number one focus in how we're trying to tie it all together.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been great hearing about the future of VR and the future of advertising, and Kelly, thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.